As always, Meathead Goldwyn. Welcome to the Rob Carson Show podcast. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm great. Every time I talk to you, it's great. There's nobody in the broadcast world that knows barbecue like you do.
Yeah, man. So this is the beginning of summer, brother. This is the beginning of summer. Well, I'm going to ask you real quick, what are you going to be doing this weekend?
You know, it's funny. This is one of the first Memorial Day holidays that we're not either hosting a party or going to a party.
What?
And my wife and I are just going to hang out and work in the garden and cook. And I'm really looking forward to a nice, quiet, relaxing weekend with my wife.
All right. Well, dude, here's the deal. I've got some friends in town from Minneapolis. They're coming in. They're bringing me some old Dutch dill pickle potato chips, which are a gift from God. And in return, I'm going to do St. Louis-style spare ribs. I'm going to be doing St. Louis ribs. I'm going to be smoking them. I'm going to be rubbing them. Going to be doing hickory, maybe a little cherry, about 4.5 hours in the smoker. And it's because the meat right now, the St. Louis-style spare ribs here in KC are selling about $1.69 a pound, which is real low.
Oh, yes.
Dude,
that's tremendous. I'm coming down there to shop.
That's right. You know, and I'll be weird. It's kind of weird. Pork butt is really low right now. You're gonna be surprised. There's a local store called Hen House. If you want beef, $6.99 a pound for, are you ready for this? Filet.
Wow.
I bought one the size of my arm the other day for $35.
Well, you know what they're doing. This is lost leader stuff. They're trying to get you in the store,
of course,
to buy the meat, and then they're going to sell you all the buns and the ketchup and everything at full price.
Well, I got me a fantastic fillet, but I'm gonna do the St. Louis style ribs untrimmed, and I'm gonna put them in the smoker about 250 for about 4.5. As opposed to the baby backs, well, I do 3.5.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm going to do. But I wanted to ask you a couple of things, brother, because I know you live in Chicago, and a lot of people are going to be throwing the processed meat on the grill. You got your bratwurst in the Midwest. You got your Nathan's dogs. You got your Vienna. God bless the Vienna beef dogs. What kind of dog are you going to be throwing on this weekend? And let me ask you about some of the great dogs of the area that you might be throwing on the grill this weekend.
Well, it's really interesting. You know, we've become a global community and a global nation where, hamburgers are the same from coast to coast. Yeah, your neighborhood restaurant has their own signature hamburger, but hot dogs have become really regional. Every town has their own house brand of, here you mentioned Vienna beef.
Yeah.
That's made here in Chicago. It's the Chicago signature hot dog. All the hot dog joints, and they tell me that there's more hot dog restaurants here in Chicago than there are hamburger joints, and that includes McDonald's and all the others. It's a real hot dog town.
Yeah, man.
Encased meats, man, we're into them in this town.
Yeah.
You go to Rochester, and it's Swigel, I think is the name.
Yeah.
What's the one down there by you in Kansas City?
Oh, shoot, man. Boulevard is making their own dogs now. Johnsonville is huge in Kansas City.
Well, that's a national brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Cincinnati. I used to live in Cincinnati. Cincinnati, it's Hoffman sausage.
Right.
Oh,
and Cincinnati's famous for their hot dogs.
Yeah, man.
They put chili and grated cheese on a hot dog down there.
They call that a coney, my brother, and
That's right.
It is a gift from God. It is a gift from God.
It is a beautiful thing, and it is really weird because they finely shred this bright yellow cheese.
Yeah.
And it looks really strange when you see it, but it ain't bad tasting.
No.
Cheese on chili, it's a natural. And
God
chili
bless
dogs.
it. Let me ask you this, because a lot of people will boil their brat in beer to start. That's the big deal. You boil it in beer and you throw it on the grill. Is that really doing much other than just for show?
You know, I was really skeptical of that, and I was looking forward to debunking that. But by golly, it actually works a bit.
No kidding.
The beer. I work with a physicist and a chemist, Dr. Greg Blonder of Boston University.
Yeah.
And so he put a special dye in the beer, and simmered the brats in it. You want to simmer it. You don't want to boil it because that will shrink it.
Gotcha.
Simmer it in the beer. the dye actually penetrated the meat. You could see that the beer was getting in.
Really?
So yeah, it works. It's not a beer flavor so much, but it adds some moisture and it replaces the moisture that drips out.
Let me ask.
So it's not a bad technique.
Let me ask you this, because there are a lot of people who will inject meats, regardless of what it is. Maybe it's brisket, maybe it's whatever, maybe it's turkey, maybe it's doing the the Cajun infused turkey, whatnot. Would you consider maybe stabbing a bratwurst before you throw it on the grill?
Boy, that's an interest. I have never thought of that.
I'll bet you,
too
dude.
creative,
It's
dude.
pork shoulder. It's pork shoulder. You get it. You get in that.
Well,
I think it's a good idea.
Excuse me, but most of the brats are mostly shoulder. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot dogs are mostly beef, although there are a bunch of them that are pork.
I'd say
planted.
bratwurst, certainly not hot dogs. Hot dogs, and there's the meat is so dense, you're not going to get any absorption. But the fat.
What I see a lot of now is brats and hot dogs with cheese inside, or jalapenos inside, or onions inside. They're starting to grind stuff up in there and flavor them, which is what a lot of sausages are. Is they're just ground meat with flavoring in them. Man. So why not? Yeah.
Let me ask you this: as far as processed meats, as far as dogs or brats, what is your personal favorite? Let's talk about a sausage, and then let's talk about a hot dog. All right. So sausage first. What's your favorite? What's your favorite?
Andouille, without question.
God
They're
bless
out of New Orleans. It's a mostly pork butt, pork sausage.
Yep.
Ground coarse. Heavily seasoned with garlic and hot spices, and then it's smoked, and it just is great by its own on a bun. People chop it up and put it in a shrimp boil, a crawfish boil. It's just got in your red beans and rice.
God bless it.
It's got tremendous versatility. I married an Italian American, and Italian sausages are real big here in Chicago. Again, pork shoulder. It's got a fennel flavor, fennel base.
Gotta have that.
Some of them can run a little spicy and hot.
Yeah.
Now, here's a couple of tricks in cooking sausages and hot dogs.
Okay.
You want to try to cook them even all over. Try not to burn them, but you want to get them brownish, so that they get crispy. Most of the good ones have a natural casing on them.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is to lay them between the grill grates rather than across the grill grates.
Yep.
If you lay them across the grill grates, you get nice grill marks, but they either roll around and it's hard to get them cooked evenly, or if they're curved, you have to flip them and you can only cook them on two sides. But if you lay them between the grates, lengthwise, you get pinstripes on them. It looks kind of weird.
Now,
but you can roll them like they do on those hot dog rolling machines at Target and stuff, and you get even cooking on them. It looks a little weird, but it's a better way to cook them. And one other tip.
Yeah.
Use your digital instant read thermometer on these things. Most of us overcook the heck out of them.
What's the internal?
All the juices spill out.
What's the internal temperature got to be on a brat or a sausage? $160? What?
155 is good.
All right.
You'll kill everything in there, and I'll bet you'll notice that they come off a lot sooner than you normally do. You want to get them brown.
Yeah.
You want to get them crunchy, but if you get them off sooner, they're juicier.
All right. Now let's talk about smoking them things. Come on. Dude, could it be better? Could it be better than putting it in the smoker? What are we talking about? $250 for how long for some bratwurst or sausages? What?
It doesn't take long.
Yeah.
15 minutes will give it a little color. 30 minutes will give it flavor. If you want to go 45, that's fine.
Yeah.
30 to 45 minutes is really all you need to get a nice smoke flavor on a sausage.
Oh, that's a good. You know what? I haven't done that. I should. Smoke it. God darn it. Why not? Why the hell not? Why not throw them in the smoker?
Italian sausage, any of those things. Even andouille, which is smoked already, can take another layer.
Let's talk about hot dogs. Now, what is it about Jewish people and processed meats? They know how to do it, because I got to tell you, Hebrew National is the frickin' Sorry. Above all of them, Hebrew National is my damn favorite. I think I love the Jewish. They know how to make processed meat, and they circumcise them. That's the most important thing.
I don't know. Well, I do. Let me take an educated guess.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
As
Yes.
someone who loves culinary history.
Yes.
Um, a lot of immigrants came in between the 1870s
Yeah.
and the 1900s.
Yeah.
They came in through southern Lower Manhattan, first Ellis Island, Lower Manhattan. They settled in the ghettos of Lower Manhattan, and meat was expensive. A lot of them opened butchering shops, and when you trim meat, there's a lot of trim left over on the
Yep.
bone,
Yep.
edges, a lot of fat,
Yep.
and you grind that into sausage.
Mm.
You don't throw it away. You can't waste it. So I suspect that the Jewish butchers in Lower Manhattan started making hot dogs and sausages
Yeah.
with the trimmings, because remember, they weren't using pork. They were using beef. Pork
Yeah.
is not kosher.
Yeah.
So that's really where corned beef and pastrami came from, a Lower Manhattan thing. It's not Irish.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, remember the old adage about you don't want to see the sausage made. I think that's bull crap. You use the animal, brother. I don't care what it is. If it goes in the sausage, it's part of the animal. And what would you rather have it do? Be throwing that away, or using the whole animal? I think I don't give a crap.
The animal.
Yeah, I don't care what the hell. Throw in some sausage. It doesn't matter. I don't care if the snout or whatever.
Lips and a-holes.
That's what I was going to call my show, actually. All right. A lot of a-holes.
You want to know something interesting?
What?
I think that Katz's Delicatessen in Lower Manhattan, which has been in operation nonstop since the 1880s, is America's oldest barbecue joint.
Oh.
Because they have been smoking brisket down there.
Oh.
Now, they cure it first. They turn it first into corned beef, essentially. They cure it, and then they smoke it. And when it's done, it's called pastrami. But this is smoked brisket.
Yeah.
And that makes them the oldest barbecue joint in America.
Now, let me ask you this. Okay. And I'm just, I think it's important because I've got a brisket in my frickin' freezer out there. And I put it in my freezer. And I got to tell you, there's nothing wrong with freezing beef. And when you thaw it out, I really believe that there's nothing wrong with freezing a piece of meat because the ice crystals tend to loosen up the meat. I don't know how to say this exactly. There's nothing wrong with freezing a piece of meat. You're freaking out about it. It's not that bad a deal.
No,
but
and it's a great way to preserve flavor. There's some thoughts about freezing, though. The faster you freeze it, the smaller the ice crystals.
Yes.
Big ice crystals will puncture the walls of the cellular of the meat fibers, the cells, and then when you thaw it, you'll get more juice running off, and that's called purge. And you want to prevent that as best you can. That's juice you want to keep in the meat. So you want to freeze it fast. And a tip for that is when you're freezing meat, don't just toss it in the freezer and let it lay on top of the stuff that's down below it.
Got it.
Put it on a rack or something so the cold air can circulate all around it. Yeah. And that'll freeze it all around a little faster. And I noticed I was shopping for a new refrigerator recently. Some of the new models, I saw a Samsung, had a fast freeze option on it, which will freeze it faster.
Which is what they did with Walt Disney's body.
Is he frozen?
He's frozen. Yeah. He's waiting to come back now. But let's talk about brisket real quick, bud, because brisket is tricky. All right, I can do ribs and I can do butt and I can do all that and I can do brisket, but brisket is an art. And I've heard you throw it in the smoker and you smoke it and then you wrap it in aluminum foil to finish. Well, give me some idea here. I've heard you leave the fat on. I've heard you trim the fat off. You told me trim the fat off. Yeah. And then what? Come on, man. Tell me how to do a brisket properly.
Well, the secret is you've got to have good meat to start with.
Yeah.
You can't just go down to the store and grab any old brisket off the shelf. Chances are it's USDA Select, which is a low grade, low fat. It could be from a bull. It could be aged a meat that's from an old animal.
Yeah.
You want USDA Choice or better.
All right.
And they don't always mark it, but if you find certified Angus beef, this is a label that it's required to be USDA Choice or better. So USDA Choice, USDA Prime, Wagyu,
Oh,
Those are all the top 3
yeah,
grades,
I ain't going to
and
smoke.
those are going to be the most tender and juicy.
I'm not going to be smoking any Wagyu anytime soon.
Well, I got to tell you, if you enter a competition,
Oh,
that's the competitors are all smoking Wagyu right
oh
now because
God.
it's really expensive. I mean, a couple of $100 or
I
more.
know.
But
All you,
it's fattier, it's juicier, and it's
yeah,
more tender. And if you're going for the big buck prize money,
yeah.
they're all cooking Wagyu on the competition circuit now.
All right, you farmers who are listening in the Midwest, go out and put some beer in your feed and massage your cow. That's what they do, right?
No, no, they don't. Not Wagyu. Wagyu. The thing about Wagyu
Yes.
is it's a breed that yields more highly marbled meat.
I got you.
And in
Higher
the
fat.
U.S., they grow it, and it's often crossed with Angus because Angus is sturdier in cooler weather up here. And it's more highly marbled. You look at it and you go, wow, boy, and it's really tender and juicy. But that's very expensive. USDA Choice is a good brisket. So you start with USDA Choice,
Yep.
USDA Prime,
Yep.
or if you want to blow it out, Wagyu.
And how long are you going to be smoking that? How long are you going to be what temperature and whatnot?
Well, let's back off a bit because you talked about trimming.
Yes, sir.
I like to get here's the theory on trimming.
Yes, sir.
You can leave a lot of fat on, and then when you slice it, all that fat melts and runs down over the meat, which is wonderful. But
Yeah.
all your spices then are on top of the fat. And if you
Gotcha.
serve a slice with a thick layer of fat on it, the first thing your diners are going to do is they're going to cut off the fat
off, yeah.
and there goes your spices. So I recommend you trim it down to about a 1/4 inch of fat.
Yeah.
And then when it cooks, that'll reduce down to about an 1/8 inch of fat. And people will eat an 1/8 inch of fat, and then all your spices will go in their mouth rather than on the plate.
And I might also add, have them trim that because otherwise you're going to be paying for fat when you're at the butcher. Hey,
Yeah, they'll do it that way.
Yeah,
Most of the time they won't. Most of the time it comes in a cryovac bag.
I know, but
and you got to buy it in the cryovac bag. And here's something else the competition cooks will often do.
yeah,
They'll leave it in the cryovac bag in the fridge, not frozen,
yeah.
for about a month.
That's wet. That's wet aging. That's wet
is-
aging. Yeah.
That's wet aging.
Yep.
Enzymes
Yep.
work away on the meat and make it a little more tender.
Keep
So
that.
that's a technique you can try.
Keep that at about 36 degrees, by the way. I've done wet and
Yes.
and dry aging. Wet aging is you leave it in the bag, you put it in your extra fridge at 36. Dry aging, you put it with a bowl of salt in the and a tray in your fridge, maybe a roasting tray with some sort of grates, keeps it above, and you put a whole prime rib, you put a whole could be a strip, could be a ribeye, whatever. You let that age for 30 to 45 days, 36 degrees, bowl of salt in there. Ridiculous. That's how I roll. Same way with the wet aging. You think wet aging, what is wet aging? Wet aging is and listen, meathead, they used to do these things called beef feeders in England back in 1700s and the 1800s, and they would keep these big slabs of beef in relatively cool areas and let them essentially slow rot. And they would cut the mold off of that, cut it up, slice it up, throw it with onions and peppers on a big old, however they cooked it, and they serve with bread. A lot of people are afraid that if you leave a piece of meat in a cool temperature for a long time, it's going to make you sick. Not if you keep it at the right temperatures, but you got to pay attention to it. You got to keep it low, 36 degrees. You're freezing it at 32, but you're slowing down the decay process at 36. And that's how wet aging and dry aging works. That's my theory anyway. You may disagree with me. I don't know.
No, you've got it right. I mean, you're absolutely right as usual. Wet aging or dry aging.
Yeah.
You could if your fridge isn't tuned, you can go up to, if you need to, 38, but keep it below 38.
Yeah.
And above 32.
Yeah.
And that's what your fridge should be tuned in anyhow. Once you get above 38, microbes can start growing. Yeah. So you want to keep your fridge down to 38 to 32. That's your sweet spot. Microbes don't normally grow well at that temp.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. What else? I think we've covered just about everything.
Well,
Pretty
yeah, I
much.
mean, the brisket process, there's a lot
Yes.
more we could talk about, but
Well,
that's the
well,
key. Get yourself a good brisket to start with.
what about
And,
injecting? What about
well,
injecting? Because a lot of people in competition, they inject the brisket. I think that's cheating, but it's something they're doing, dude. Injecting the brisket. And again, if you've got a whole brisket, you might consider injecting. And how long would you consider keeping it in there uncovered? And a lot of people finish in foil. Let's just wrap it up on that topic. Go.
well, injecting, it depends on what your definition of cheating is. I mean, if you're going to
Mm,
put a sauce on it,
no.
why not put something in it? What's the
Oh.
difference? I mean, but in competition, yes, they inject, they use compounds which are got some umami, which is that savory flavor. They use compounds that help retain moisture.
Mm,
If you've got an inexpensive brisket, especially a select or below choice, injecting's a good idea. And you just inject a low sodium or even a medium sodium beef broth. That's all. Put a lot of holes in it, inject it everywhere you can until it bubbles up. And now you're adding moisture and a little salt and a little flavor.
mm,
And salt is really a good thing. Salt that sucker as well in advance as you can. Overnight it'd be nice because salt gets deep into the meat.
yeah.
Salt penetrates and salt denatures the protein and helps protein hold on to moisture. You can use pepper too. That's a common salt and pepper. They call it Dalmatian rub. It's real common in Texas, but the pepper is too big a molecule. It won't penetrate. It sits
Uh-huh.
on the surface. Anything else you put on it will sit on the surface, won't go deep in, but salt will. So get the salt on well in advance. That'll penetrate. That'll help keep it moist. And
Mhm.
then there's a lot of debate about proper cooking temp. I like to keep it down 225 to
Yep.
250. I know that's your temp too.
Yep. Yep.
Some guys take it up to 300, 350.
Mm.
And I've had some mighty good brisket cooked at those temps. Um, the target temp is you want to go to about 203 internal temperature.
Okay, that's when the release happens. That's when the cartilage, the connective tissue breaks down.
Well, it starts actually. Um, Connective tissue, which is all the stuff that holds the
Yeah.
fibers and the muscles
Yeah.
together,
Yeah.
that starts to break down at a lower temperature, but it speeds up as the temperature rises,
Gotcha.
and it takes a long time to get it really gelatinous and unctuous. And the same thing with fat. It takes a while for it to melt and render. And so by the time it gets up in the 203 range, and that's well past well done is 155. But you're looking for your moisture is coming now from the gelatin formed by the connective tissue and from the melted fat. It's not coming as much from water like in a steak. You don't want to cook a steak that high.
Yeah.
It'd be inedible.
Exactly. It's kind of weird because when I when I talk to you, you need to write a book because it sounds like we're doing 50 Shades of Gray here. Because it's like inject, release, meld.
You're giving me ideas. My last book,
Yes.
Meathead: The Science of Great Barbecue and Grilling, made the New York Times bestseller list.
Yes. Yes.
It's been out for more than a year. I just checked on Amazon. It's still the #1 best-selling barbecue cookbook. My next book
Yes.
is called The Art of Great Barbecue and Grilling,
Ah.
and maybe we'll get a little sex in there.
All right, dude. Well, listen, as always, an honor to talk to you, my brother. Like I said, I'm doing your basic St. Louis style spare ribs, $1.69 a pound is what I'm doing this weekend. I'm gonna rub
That's me
them,
too.
like 50 Shades. I'm gonna rub them, and then I'm gonna smoke them, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be low and slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna
I
baste
wish
them.
I was there with you. One
All
of
right.
these days, we're gonna cook together, you and I.
All right, brother. Tell everybody where you are. Y'all know AmazingRibs.com, the greatest website as far as smoking and roasting and all that in the history of mankind. Any other place people can get in touch with you?
Come to the website. There's a
Okay.
comment
All right,
section
dude.
on every page, and I'm in there every day. I've got 8 moderators who jump in and answer
All
questions
right.
24/7. and I answer a lot of questions. It's easy to reach us.
All right. God bless you, brother. Have a great week at AmazingRibs.com. AmazingRibs.com. Meathead Goldwyn. We will talk again soon.
Rob, always great.
All right, dude. See ya.